I'm just going to plug in this phone so it doesn't go dead on me while I am on air with you. I'm going to wait for just a moment. Oh, I should have had my computer out so I could share it. That's what I should have done. I'm learning all of this by myself now, since it is just me. And I know it's, I'm going to push you back a little bit like that. That's a little bit better. I'm sorry it's so dark. My light gave out on me. I'm getting all of these iPhone updates. Anyway, hello, welcome to the Gentleman Psychic. If you are new, welcome. We are continuing to read Murder on the Orient Express, as it says in the title. Also, not only are we reading Murder on the Orient Express, but beyond the psychic stuff, beyond the witchcraft, what I love to do is to read. It promotes literacy and it helps people, and I like to help people. Hello, Mary Jane, lovely to see you. It is a little bit dark, and there is this, at least on mine, there's this bright light, and I don't know if it's my phone acting up, or if, I don't know. My phone has been weird lately, so I don't know. So hello, welcome back to the Gentleman Psychic. I would like to thank, at this time, my top-tier patrons. I would like to thank Mary Jane King, Dee Lucero, Lauren Morgan Richards, as well as honorable mentions of Zaisha and Christina Blasco, and I would like to thank Cafe Noir, and I would like to thank, goodness, there's so many people that I hope I haven't missed you. Hello, Melissa, I would like to thank you too. Malika, lovely to see you. So many people. I also want to say thank you to all of you who have donated to my move, all of you who have sent me gifts, and I've been overwhelmed a little bit. So if you have sent me a thank you, if you've sent me donations, if you have sent me physical, tangible gifts, please find me on Facebook. You can find me under Richard-Lael Lillard or under The Gentleman Psychic. Please send me a personal note so that I can get your address, so that I can send out proper thank yous. The thing about the Amazon wish list, the gift registry, is things have arrived. I don't know who sent them to me, so please send me a message. Hello, Draco. Lovely to see you here. I'm really excited to be reading for you. This is a very long book. I didn't think it was going to be this long. I had never read it. I'm missing another button. Well, anyway, I had never read it, and I am glad to be reading it. It's just a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So we are at the point in the story. Oh, hello, Angela. Lovely to see you. If I don't mention you, I apologize. In a moment, I'm going to be getting into the story. I got the book Foreshadow by you. Oh, yes. Maddie, lovely to see you. Too happy to see you. The house looks amazing. Thank you so much. I did a lot more organizing today. My friend Michael is here, and he's helped me. 3 a.m. where I am, but excited for this. Lovely Charlotte, welcome. So the house is coming together nicely. I am no longer in the Pasadena house. I am here in New York, in upstate New York, about 2 hours from the city. And I'm loving it. It's quiet. There's a train that comes through. So it's really charming. I apologize, it's a little bit echoey. I don't have my microphone on me. I should have it on. I don't. I was busy getting things together. I think once I get my area rug in, and I get my paintings hung, and I get my drapes up, and I get things to fill the space, it will not be nearly as echoey. And that will be brilliant, I think. Anyway, Mason, great work on the house so far. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, my lovelies, ladies and gentlemen, boils and ghouls, and those who remain undecided. thank you again for joining me as we continue our journey with Murder on the Orient Express. Stave 4. The grease spot on a Hungarian passport. Perrault shared a table with Monsieur Bouc and the doctor. The company assembled in the restaurant car was very subdued one. They spoke little. Even the loquacious Mrs. Hubbard was unnaturally quiet. She murmured as she sat, "I don't feel as though I've got the heart to eat anything," and then partook of everything offered her, encouraged by the Swedish lady, who seemed to regard her as a special charge. Before the meal was served, Perrault had caught the chief attendant by the sleeve and murmured something to him. Constantine had a pretty good guess what the instructions had been. As he noticed, the Count and Countess Andreni were always served last, and that at the end of the meal there was a delay in making out their bill. It therefore came about that the Count and Countess were the last left in the restaurant car. When they rose at length and moved in the direction of the door, Perrault sprang up and followed them. "Pardon, madame, you have dropped your handkerchief?" He was holding out to her the tiny monogrammed square. She took it, glanced at it, then handed it back to him. "You are mistaken, monsieur. That is not my handkerchief." "Not your handkerchief? Are you sure?" "Perfectly sure, monsieur." "And yet, madame, it has your initial, the initial H." The Countess made a sudden movement. Perrault ignored him. The Count made a sudden movement. Perrault ignored him. His eyes were fixed on the Countess's face. Looking steadily at him, she replied, "I do not understand, monsieur. My initials are E.A." "I think not. Your name is Helena, not Elena. Helena Goldenberg, the younger daughter of Linda Arden. Helena Goldenberg, the sister of Mrs. Armstrong." There was a dead silence for a minute or two. Both the Count and Countess had gone deadly white. Perrault said in a gentler tone, "It is of no use denying that is the truth, is it not?" The Count burst out furiously. "I demand, monsieur, by what right you—" She interrupted him, putting up a small hand toward his mouth. "No, Rudolph, let me speak. It is useless to deny what this gentleman says. We had better sit down and talk the matter out." Her voice had changed. It still had the southern richness of tone, but it had become suddenly more clear-cut and incisive. It was, for the first time, definitely American voice. "Oh, well, I didn't know that." The Count was silenced. He obeyed the gesture of her hand, and they both sat down opposite Perrault. "Your statement, monsieur, is quite true," said the Countess. "I am Helena Goldenberg, the younger sister of Mrs. Armstrong." "You did not acquaint me with that fact this morning, Madame la Comtesse." "No." "In fact, all that your husband and you told me was a tissue of lies." "Monsieur," cried the Count angrily. "Do not be angry, Rudolph. Monsieur Perrault puts the fact rather brutally, but what he says is undeniable." "I am glad you admit that fact so freely, madame. Will you now tell me your reasons for doing so, and also for altering your Christian name on your passport?" "That was my doing entirely," put in the Count. Helena said quietly, "Surely, Monsieur Perrault, you can guess my reason, our reason. This man who was killed is the man who murdered my baby niece, who killed my sister, who broke my brother-in-law's heart. 3 of the people I loved best and who made up my home, my world." Her voice rang out passionately. She was a true daughter of that mother, the emotional force of whose acting and moved huge audiences to tears. She went on more quietly. Her voice rang out, she went on more quietly. Of all the people on the train, I alone had probably the best motive for killing him. And you did not kill him, madame? I swear to you, Monsieur Perrault, and my husband knows, and will swear also, that much as I may have been tempted to do so, I never lifted a hand against that man. I too, gentlemen, said the Count, I give you my word of honour that the last night Helena never left her compartment. She took a sleeping draught exactly as I said. She is utterly and entirely innocent. Perrault looked from one to the other of them. Honour my word of honour, repeated the Count. Perrault shook his head slightly. And yet you took it upon yourself to alter the name on the passport. Monsieur Perrault, the Count spoke earnestly and passionately, consider my position. Do you think I could stand the thought of my wife dragged through a sordid police case? She was innocent. I knew it. But that she said was true. Because of her connection with the Armstrong family, she would have been immediately suspected. She would have been questioned, arrested, perhaps, since some evil chance had taken us on the same train as that ratchet. There was, I felt for sure, but one thing for it, I admit, monsieur, that I lied to you. All that is to save in one thing. My wife never left her compartment last night. He spoke with an earnestness that it was hard to gainsay. I do not disbelieve you, monsieur, said Perrault slowly. Your family is a proud and ancient one. It would be bitter indeed for you to have your wife dragged into unpleasant police case. With that, I can sympathize. But how, then, do you explain the presence of the wife's handkerchief actually in the dead man's compartment? The handkerchief is not mine, monsieur, said the Countess. In spite of the initial H, in spite of the initial, I have handkerchiefs not unlike that, but not one that is exactly of that pattern. I know, of course, that I cannot hope to make you believe me, but I assure you that it is so. That handkerchief is not mine. It may have been placed there by someone in order to incriminate you. She smiled a little. You are enticing me to admit that. After all, it is mine. But indeed, Monsieur Perrault, it isn't. She spoke with great earnestness. Then why is the handkerchief was not yours? Did you alter the name in the passport? The Countess answered this. Because we heard that a handkerchief had been found with the initial H on it. We talked the matter over together before we came to be interviewed. I pointed out to Helena that the Count answered. I pointed out to Helena that if it were seen that her Christian name began with the letter H, she would immediately be subjected to much more rigorous questioning. And the thing was simple. To alter Helena to Helena was easily done. You have, Monsieur le Comte, the makings of a very fine criminal, remarked Perrault dryly. A great naturally ingenuity and an apparently remorseless determination to mislead justice. No, the girl leaned forward. Monsieur Perrault, he's explained to you how it was. She broke from French into English. I was scared, absolutely dead scared. And you understand, it had been so awful that time, and to have it all raked up again, and to be suspected and perhaps thrown into prison, I was just scared stiff, Monsieur Perrault. Can't you understand it all? Her voice was lovely, deep, rich, pleading. The voice of the daughter of Linda Arden, the actress. Perrault looked at her gravely. If I am to believe you, madame, and I do not say that I will not believe you, then you must help me. Help you? Yes. The reason for the murder lies in the past, in that tragedy which broke up your home and saddened your young life. Take me back into the past, mademoiselle, and that I may find there the link that explains the whole thing. What can there be to tell you? They are all dead, she repeated mournfully. All dead, all dead. Robert, Sonia, darling, darling Daisy. She was so sweet, so happy. She had such lovely curls. We were all just crazy about her. There was another victim, madame. An indirect victim, you might say. Poor Suzanne, yes, I had forgotten about her. The police questioned her. They were convinced she had something to do with it. Perhaps she had, but if so, only innocently. She had, I believe, chatted idly with someone, giving information as to the time of Daisy's outings. The poor thing got terribly wrought up. She thought she was being held responsible. She shuddered. She threw herself out the window. Oh, it was horrible. She buried her face in her hands. Oops, there goes my... Well, we'll just pull that back up. She buried her face in her hands. What nationality was she, madame? She was French. What was her last name? It's absurd, but I can't remember. We called her Suzanne, a pretty laughing girl. She was devoted to Daisy. She was the nursery maid, was she not? Yes. Who was the nurse? She was a trained hospital nurse. Stenelberg, her name was. She too was devoted to Daisy, and to my sister. Now, madame, I want you to think carefully before you answer the question. Have you, since you were on this train, seen anyone that you recognized? She stared at him. I? No, no one at all. What about Princess Dragnarov? Oh, her. Well, I know of her, of course. I thought you meant anyone from that time. So I did, madame. Now think carefully. Some years have passed. Remember, the person might have altered their appearance. Helena pondered deeply. Then she said, No, I am sure there is no one. You yourself, you were a young girl at the time. Did you have no one to superintend your studies or to look after you? Oh, yes. I had a dragon, a sort of governess to me, and secretary to Sonia combined. She was English, or rather Scotch, a big red-haired woman. What was her name? Miss Freebody. Young or old? She seemed frightfully old to me, I suppose. She couldn't have been more than 40. Suzanne, of course, used to look after my clothes and made me. And there were no other inmates in the house, only servants. You are certain, quite certain, madame, that you have recognized no one on the train? She replied earnestly. No one, monsieur. No one at all. 5. The Christian name of Princess Dragmarov. When the Count and Countess had departed, Perrault looked across the other two. You see, he said, we make progress. Excellent work, said Monsieur Bou cordially. For my part, I should never have dreamt of suspecting Count and Countess Andreni. I will admit I thought them quite hors de combat. I suppose there is no doubt that she committed the crime. It is rather sad. Still, they will not guillotine her. There are extenuating circumstances. A few years' imprisonment, that will be all. In fact, you are quite certain of her guilt. My dear friend, surely there is no doubt of it. I thought your reassuring manner was only to smooth things over till we dug out the snow and the police take charge. You do not believe the Count's positive assertion on this, his word of honor that his wife is innocent? Mon cher, naturally, what else could he say? He adores his wife. He wants to save her. He tells his lie very well, quite in a grand signor manner. But what else than a lie could it be? Well, you know, I had the preposterous idea that it might be the truth. No, no, the handkerchief, remember the handkerchief, clinches the matter. Oh, I am not certain about the handkerchief. You remember I always told you that there were two possibilities as to the ownership of that handkerchief. All the same, Mr. Book broke off the door at the end, broke off. The door at the end opened and Princess Dragmaroff entered the dining car. She came straight to them and all three men rose to their feet. She spoke to Perrault, ignoring the others. I believe, monsieur, she said, that you have an handkerchief of mine. Perrault shot a glance of triumph at the other two. Is this it, madame? He produced a little square of fine cambric. That is it. It has my initial in the corner. But madame, the princess, that is the letter H, said Monsieur Book. But that is the letter H. Your Christian name, pardon me, is Natalia. She gave him a cold stare. That is correct, monsieur. My handkerchief are always initialed in the Russian characters. H is N in the Russian. Monsieur Book was somewhat taken aback. There was something about this indomitable old lady which made him feel flustered and uncomfortable. You did not tell us this handkerchief was yours at the inquiry this morning. You did not ask me, said the princess dryly. Pray, be seated, madame, said Perrault. She sighed. I may as well, I suppose. She sat down. You need not make long business of this, messieurs. Your next question will be, how did my handkerchief come to be lying by the murdered man's body? My reply to that is, I have no idea. You really have no idea? None whatsoever. You will excuse me, madame, but how much can we rely upon the truthfulness of your replies? Perrault said the words very softly. Princess Dragmaroff answered contemptuously. I suppose you mean because I did not tell you that Eleanor Andreni was Mrs. Armstrong's sister. In fact, you deliberately lied to us in the matter. Certainly, I would do the same again. Her mother was my friend. I believe, messieurs, in loyalty to one's friends and one's family and one's caste. You do not believe in doing your utmost to further the ends of justice? In this case, I consider that justice, strict justice, has been done. Perrault leaned forward. You see my difficulty, madame, in this matter of the handkerchief. Even am I to believe you, or are you shielding your friend's daughter? Oh, I see what you mean. Her face broke into a grim smile. Well, messieurs, this statement of mine can be easily proved. I will give you the address of the people in Paris who make my handkerchiefs. You have only to show them the one in question, and they will inform you that it was made to my order over a year ago. The handkerchief is mine, messieurs. She rose. Have you anything further you wish to ask of me? Your maid, madame. Did she recognize this handkerchief when we showed it to her this morning? She must have done so. She saw it and said nothing. Ah, well, that shows that she too can be loyal. With a slight inclination of her head, she passed out of the dining car. So, that was it, murmured Perrault softly. I noticed just a trifling hesitation when I asked the maid if she knew to whom the handkerchief had belonged. She was uncertain whether or not to admit that it was her mistress's. But how does that fit in with the strange central idea of mine? Yes, it might well be. Aha, said Monsieur Bouc with a characteristic gesture. She's a terrible old lady, that. Could she have murdered Ratchet? Or could she have murdered Ratchet? Asked Perrault of the doctor. He shook his head. Those blows, the ones delivered with a great